Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gracie if you guys are new here. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while now, there is probably a good chance that you subscribe to me for my Disney videos. I've done 2 Disney college programs. One was cut short because of COVID, and then the other one was a year long, and then I ended up staying for another year working part-time and full-time at Disney. And in my last year working there, I didn't film a single YouTube video, so I never really talked about my experience as a cast member there. So I think I'm gonna start a little teeny tiny series on my channel where I talk a little bit about the different roles I had at Disney and just like my overall experience as a cast member. I really miss it so much. I miss all of my friends and I miss just like my life there. It was so much fun. And I actually haven't been to Disney in over a year, which is nuts. I am going for a week in April and I'm definitely going to vlog my trip and like packing for my trip and all that stuff. So get excited for those videos. There will be some Disney content coming. But today's video is going to be the first installment in the new series that I'm going to have on my channel where I talk about the different roles that I had on my previous Disney college program. I have a couple videos from my very first college program where I talked a little about the custodial role and just like my experience back. But I'm sure everything has changed since then, and everything has honestly probably changed since my second Disney college program as well. I still wanted to talk about it and share my experiences. Okay, so video 1 is all about working at the Jungle Cruise. If you did not know, I was a skipper on the Jungle Cruise during my Disney college program in 2022. So I started in February 2022, and then I transferred to a different role because my college program ended in February of 2023. So I was at the Jungle Cruise for a whole entire year and I seriously loved it so much. The Jungle Cruise is always everyone's like #1 dream role before they go into the Disney college program. It seems like that's the role that every single person wants. It's one of the roles that I wanted for sure. So I just could not believe my eyes when I opened up my training schedule and I saw that I was placed as a skipper. So I think that's what I'll talk about first. It's kind of like my reaction to finding out that I was a skipper. Basically back then in 2022, I don't know if it's changed or not since then because that's now been 3 years ago, which is crazy. But back then you typically got your training schedule on your move-in day. So that's what happened to me. I remember I was sitting with my best friend Hannah in our new room. We were so excited. We were moving all of our stuff in and I got an email notification that I had received my training schedule, and I'd already gotten my itinerary and knew that I was going to be in Adventureland and Liberty Square, but I wasn't going to find out which attraction I was at until my itinerary came out. So I remember I got the email and I was freaking out, and it wouldn't load at first because I wasn't on the Wi-Fi yet at Flamingo, and then it finally loaded, and the first thing I saw was the costume, like the khaki, and I knew that it was Jungle. There's actually a video of this in my like very first week on the Disney college program vlog, or like my move-in day vlog or something like that. Where you can see my reaction, but I was freaking out. I literally could not believe it whenever I saw that I was going to be at Jungle. And I was a little bit scared at first because I started to think about how I'm going to have to remember this spiel and like be funny. It got me a little bit nervous, but it ended up being like totally fine and so much fun. But I'll be sure to link the video where I found out that I was working at Jungle because it's a cute one. Okay, I'm kind of reading like random questions, but one of the questions is how long did it take you to memorize the script? And training at Jungle was a whole big thing, and it was honestly really kind of terrifying because I think I had 5 days of training and you needed to go live on like day 2 or 3, I'm pretty sure. And going live means you're doing the Jungle Cruise with a boat full of people for like the first time. And I'm pretty sure I had to go live on day 2 or 3. I know for safaris, which I'm going to do a safaris video soon, but at safaris, I went live on day 3. It's like a crazy quick process, but I'm pretty sure I had like 2 or 3 days to memorize the script before I went live. And you can ask my roommate Hannah. I was literally like saying my script in the shower and I was dreaming about my script. Like I was constantly thinking about it and like trying to memorize it because it was just like my biggest fear to stall or like mess up my script while I was doing like a live boat in front of people. So I was literally doing everything I possibly could to try and memorize my script. And another question that I'm kind of gonna lump into this one is like, how do you pick the jokes for your specific script? So I just remember getting this like giant packet that had a bunch of different jokes for each like show scene, because you know, like you go out into the jungle and there's different scenes. There's like the gorilla scene, there's the temple, there's the elephants, and there's just like different scenes. So there was like a big script with a bunch of different jokes for each scene, and you kind of like picked 2, I'm pretty sure, per show scene. I can't remember. I should have filmed this video like while I was there so that I remembered every single little thing. but I did not. So I'm trying to remember like as I go. But I'm pretty sure you wanted to pick like 2 per show scene. So I went and picked out like my favorite ones from that like packet. It might have been online or 2, but I remember I wrote it all down. So they like made you write it down. You couldn't take the script with you. So I sat and like wrote down all the jokes that I was going to do, and then memorized my like written down copy like over the course, of my training. My first script was probably horrible and way different than, my last script that I ever did, just because you hear like what jokes other skippers are saying, or, you watch YouTube videos and watch other people's cruises, and then you like input some of those jokes into your own spiel. So I'm pretty sure my script evolved lots over time. And it was always kind of fun to like try out new jokes and take out some of your old ones and kind of see what works best and like what the guests respond to best. And you were able to add in some of your own jokes at the time. I don't know if this has changed now, because things at Jungle and every attraction are always kind of ebbing and flowing and changing. But at the time, you were able to add in some of your own jokes as long as they were appropriate. I don't really think I had too many of my own jokes. I think they were all pretty like OG. But I maybe had a couple of my own thrown in there, or at least a couple that a different skipper had made up that I'd heard them say, and then added that into my own cruise. The training process was definitely pretty intimidating, mostly because you're having to memorize the script that you've written down, and it's like a 10-minute long cruise. So you're remembering all of these jokes, but then you're also learning how to operate these boats. The boats are on a track, spoiler alert if you did not know. But as the skipper, you do control like the speed and the starting and stopping of the boat. So there's like a lever where it'll speed up, or you can pull it back and it'll slow it down, just like how a normal boat operates. And so on top of learning the script, you're also learning how to operate the boats. Whenever you're docking to load guests onto your boat or unloading the guests off of your boat, there were like specific points that you needed to be in line with. Like you had to align yourself, the skipper needed to be in line with like a line on the dock. So it's learning how to like align yourself and stop the boat, and then also make sure the boat is staying stopped and not moving forward. So you're constantly, moving the throttle to get it like just right. So you were having to learn all of that, dock properly, also speak to all these guests and like answer their questions. And then there's also all of these different land positions. That's what we called the positions, like greeter, lightning lane greeter, merge, where like the lightning lane and the standby merge together, and you have to like get out the right amount of standby versus the right amount of lightning lane. And then there's the load and unload and like all these different positions. So the training process was a little intimidating. After the end of training, I really did feel pretty comfortable, and we're all helping each other out, making sure we all know what's going on. So I definitely felt comfortable after the training process, but it was definitely a little bit intimidating, especially learning all of the different positions and the script. I think my favorite part of working at Jungle was really like the people that I worked with. I don't know what it is about the people that get placed at Jungle, but they are just some of my most favorite people ever. I've worked at a couple different spots in Disney, and I genuinely think my coworkers and friends that I had working at Jungle were easily the best coworkers I had. I was friends with literally every single person, it felt like, and especially my like DCP group that I came in with, we all got really, really close. And so that helped so much. I looked forward to going to work every single day, not only because the job was amazing, but because I had such amazing friends, and everyone that worked there was just amazing. They really like took you in. Like all of the coordinators, they've probably seen like a bajillion different groups of CPs come in over the years, but I really feel like we all connected, even though, there's people coming and going all the time. They really all took time to like connect with you and get to know you and make you feel really comfortable. But yeah, my group of friends from Jungle are just some of the best people. We still keep in touch and try and see each other whenever we can. But honestly, I don't know how they do it, but everyone is just funny that works at Jungle, it feels like. Just like naturally funny. It's funny too, because like my group of CPs that came in, we didn't do a phone interview at the time. And I really feel like everyone that was placed at Jungle was meant to be there, and all really were perfect for it. So I don't know how they did that and like how they vetted people for that job, but I think they did a perfect job, and all of those people ended up becoming like some of my very best friends. Another favorite part of working at Jungle was obviously doing boats and making people laugh. That was just always so much fun. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but I'm just kind of remembering things as I go along. But generally how like the Jungle cruise operation worked when I was there, it's probably different now. But when I was there, there was a rotation. And in the rotation, you would normally go from boat to land position and then back to a boat and then back to a land position. So it just like alternated. So if you started in a boat, you would normally do like 2 trips around the river. So that's about 20-25 minutes on a boat. And then someone would come with a little like rotation slip and take over your boat. And then you would go to whatever land position is after that boat number that you were just on. You know, you could go from being on a boat to going to greeter out front. And then in 20 or 25 more minutes, when someone else is getting off that same boat, you would normally go back on a boat for another 20-25 minutes. So the rotations were shorter at Jungle Cruise than any other attraction I've been to or worked at or anything. Definitely a lot shorter than the safari rotation. This is like a spoiler for my safaris video, but when you were placed on a truck, you were on that truck for 2 hours until it was your break. So that was normally like 3 or 4, normally like 4 trips, 5 if like they're down bad and they need you to stay on a truck. It was nice at Jungle that you kind of got to only be on for, you know, 2 or 3 trips, usually 2, sometimes 3 if they really needed you to do another trip. But that's still not even bad because that's like 30-35 minutes on a boat. But, you know, compared to safaris, Jungle Cruise is a very like guest facing role. At safaris, you know, you face the same way as the guests. You're driving, you're sitting. They're not looking at you. They're looking everywhere else, like at all the animals. And, you know, at Jungle, they are looking at you all the time because they're looking at the show scenes, but they are looking at you. Like the skipper is what makes the whole ride. You are the entertainment aspect to the ride. That's what made it a little bit different than safaris. I wouldn't say more difficult because I do think that safaris was more difficult for me. Yeah, so you kind of always had to be on at Jungle and just like ready to do a cruise. Some people kind of get around this as skippers by having like a very dry and sarcastic cruise where, you know, you're not emoting too much. You're just kind of like cut and dry. And that's what's funny about your cruise is that you are like dry and sarcastic. I'm not able to be that way. I feel like I'm a super bubbly person. So if I tried to do like a dry and sarcastic cruise, it would just be bad. I feel like because I can't do that type of humor very well. So my cruise was very animated, very bubbly. So, you know, when you're having like not the best day or you're tired, it's the very end of the night. Sometimes it was a little bit difficult to do a cruise for people because you have to be, you know, on and ready to do that. But 99% of the time, I feel like I was just so happy to be working at Jungle. A question that I got a couple of times was if my boat ever broke down, and the answer is yes, it actually did. Funny enough, it actually broke down right behind the backside of water, which is obviously not the most ideal spot to be broken down. Like we were literally right beside the backside of water. And I remember my boat just started making this like crazy, like gear grinding, like metal noise. And it was also nighttime. Like it was one of the last cruises of the night. Like Magic Kingdom was just about to close. And of course that would happen at that time. I remember the guests on my boat were awesome. One of them actually posted a whole YouTube video of the experience. So I can link that for you guys down in the description where my boat broke down. But in that moment, you kind of have to keep going with your cruise a little bit and kind of like make light of the situation. It really helps if you have awesome people on your cruise that kind of like interact with you and aren't upset about the boat being broken down. It's a little bit easier to kind of play off of them whenever they're not super upset, you know? I don't know if this has changed, obviously, but at the time, some other skippers get on like the back of the boat with like a rope, a big blue rope where they're able to like tug you back up to the front. So that boat in front of you actually reverses through the river, comes all the way back to where you are, and then those 2 skippers at the end put the rope on your boat, and then they go forward to unload. So it's a whole process, and you have to wait for that boat in front to unload before they can come get you. So sometimes you're stuck out there for like 20-30 minutes or so. It is a very long process, but I remember it being pretty quick and swift for me, and we ended up being able to, you know, get those guests unloaded pretty quick. But sometimes it is not so quick. You know, you could be backed up at load and unload, and they have to cycle boats off so that they're able to have a clear path to back up and come get you. So like if you didn't know, there's a whole backstage area where the boats are kept and they get fueled and worked on, and there's a whole maintenance bay where the boats get worked on, and it's like right next to jungle, right backstage. So sometimes they have to cycle boats off to be able to get to you. So it's just like a whole thing. But I am kind of glad that it happened to me once at least, so that way I can have that experience and be able to tell that story. Another question that I got is, what happens when guests on your boat don't laugh at your jokes? Honestly, I feel like at the beginning of my time at Jungle Cruise, it would affect me more if a boat didn't laugh at any of my jokes. But as time goes on and you're working there, you learn that you really don't care if guests don't laugh. I mean, it is nice for guests to laugh, and those type of boats and cruises really kind of have the power to energize you and make you remember why you love being a skipper in the first place, because it's so much fun when the energy on your boat is, you know, on par with your energy, and it gives you something to work with, and your jokes are going to be even funnier because you have something to kind of like bounce off of. But when people didn't laugh on my boats, I feel like I just kind of didn't care. For those types of boats, I had a very specific way that I said my whole spiel, and it was just easy to kind of say my spiel without really caring about if people were laughing. Obviously, like I said, it's better when you can kind of bounce off and add in some more funny things because, you know, people are laughing. It's kind of just like whatever. If people don't laugh at your boats, you just say your spiel, and I would still give it my all. I didn't say it in like a monotone way or anything if people didn't laugh. You just kind of learn to, you know, play a part and save the spiel and not really care if anyone laughs. I would say one of the toughest things about being a skipper is being able to stall and having like stalling material. And basically what that is, you know, there's times on the river where you're backed up and you're like 5 boats back waiting to unload. So you have to wait for like 5 boats ahead of you to unload before it's your turn. And in those times, you need to have material to stall with, because most of the time there's not any scenes around you to be able to play off with. You're just like in an area where it's just trees on either side of you. So you have to be able to, you know, off the top of your head, have jokes lined up to be able to stall with. I ended up like halfway through my time at Jungle absolutely loving when I had to stall, because I had so much material like in my head that I could play off of and that I thought was really funny. And I will say too, I feel like you get the most laughs during your stalling material because they know that it's more of like a skill to be able to stall rather than to like memorize a script and say it. So I just think they like would think it was funnier for some reason. But I loved my stalling material. I'm trying to think and remember some of what it was. Like you just kind of have to play off the trees and like what's around you, and that's when you get the most guest interaction. There's one joke, which this is not OG, and I don't know now if you're like still allowed to say this one, but you would go around the boat and ask people like where they're from. Like the first guest, you would say, okay, like we're gonna be sitting here for a while, so let's get to know each other. Where are you guys from? And they would say like, I'm from Florida, and you would say, no way, me too. And then you would ask the next people, and then when they would answer, you would say, no way, me too. And that's like when you get your first laugh, and then you kind of keep doing it to a couple more families. And then normally once I got to like a family in the back, they would say like, oh, I'm from California. And you say, I'm sorry? And then they would say it again, like, I'm from California. And then you would say, oh no, I heard you, I'm just sorry. And then that would get like so many laughs, usually. So that was like such a fun time whenever you get to stall, because you would get a lot of laughs, I feel like. There's so much more stalling material, and a lot of my friends had even better stalling material than I did, but it was just so much fun to be able to just be funny and like crack jokes. Another question I got is, how did working at Jungle Cruise change the way you experience the ride as a guest? And I feel like with any attraction that you work at, it's going to change the way you experience it, just because you know the ins and outs of that attraction. And so like when I ride it again, I'm not really thinking about it from a true like guest perspective. I used to love riding other people's boats and riding my friends' boats, because you would get to kind of see what material they use in their spiel and kind of decide if you want to add it into your own. So even now that I'm not working at Jungle, I do think I'm going to experience it in a different way, just because it'll be interesting to see like what's changed and kind of observe the way the attraction is like running, if it's running any differently than it used to. And I just have such a deep appreciation for the ride, and it means so much to me. So that's obviously going to change the way I experience it. I would say it's definitely my favorite attraction in Magic Kingdom, because I have such like strong emotional like ties to it. But like I said, I'm going on a trip in April, and my family is coming for the first time. Like even when I worked there, they never came. So we're going to ride Jungle, and they're going to get to see where I worked. So I'm going to obviously be thinking about it from a little bit of a different perspective. But something else that I wanted to talk about for this first video is like the hours that I worked on my college program, because honestly, thinking about myself now, I just know that these hours would kill me. I don't know how I did it like 3 years ago, working these like crazy insane hours. But at the time I was literally just like having a blast, and going to work didn't really feel so much like work because I was with my best friends. I was having a blast. Like, it was just so much fun. And I'll talk about this in another video, but I also used to work parade crowd control and fireworks crowd control. So a lot of times my shifts would be sandwiched with those two things. So I'm pretty sure normally I would start out coming in at 10:45 for the parade crowd control. Basically, it was for Festival of Fantasy. I'll talk about parade and firework crowd control a little bit later, but normally I would come in at 10:45 for my parade shift, and that would end around 3:30, 3:45, right after the second Festival Fantasy Parade. And then I would go to Jungle until either like close, so like 3:30 to 11:15 or 11:45. That means I'm working 10:45 to 11:45. Or I would have a little bit shorter of a day when I would do parades and then go to Jungle and then go to fireworks crowd control. So normally in that case, I would go to Jungle around 3:30, and then I would go to fireworks around like 6:30 until like, 9:30 or something like that. I can't remember the exact time. So a lot of the times I was working like 10:45 to 9:30 or 10:45 to like 11:45. And then whenever there were parties, like the Christmas party or the Halloween party, we would do parades in the morning, then go to Jungle, and then do parades again at night for like the Halloween and Christmas parades. And those shifts would be like 10:45 to 12:45, like nuts. But at the time, I didn't even really think anything of it. Like, I loved it so much. And it's just crazy. I do think I would go back in a heartbeat and do that again. If I could have those exact positions with all of my amazing friends that I worked it with, like, I would so easily go back. And that actually is another question that I got, is would you ever go back and work as a skipper again? And I do think like of myself now, like I'm about to graduate college. I just got my first like full-time job that I'm working. It would be hard to leave everything and go back. But also, if I could go back and everything be the exact same as it was when I was there, and all of my same friends were there, like all my friends that were on the college program with me, it would be so hard to not go back because it was just so much fun. I tell all of my friends here, like at home, that working at Disney was like the best time of my whole life. Like, I'm gonna cry. But yeah, I just met some of the most amazing people, and the job was so fun, and I was with my friends like 24/7. Oh my God. It's hard to explain it to someone when you haven't like done it or been a part of it. And I had really great friends at the other jobs that I worked at too. But there was just something about like the people I worked with at Jungle and like the parades and fireworks crew that I worked with that like those people are going to be my friends forever. It would be so hard to not be able to go back if it was like the exact same like situation as it was before. Okay, I didn't mean to cry. I don't really know why I cried, but I just love those people in that place so much. Okay, I fear this video is long, so I want to kind of end this video off. I think the way that I'm going to end it is maybe by sharing, one of my favorite Jungle Cruise jokes just for fun. I have so many favorite jokes, and honestly, a lot of them you kind of have to be in the moment on the cruise to really get, because they're so like punny, and you have to be able to like see the show scenes to know like what the jokes are. But honestly, that stalling joke is one of my favorites. I love the backside of water. I think it's so funny and just like so corny. Basically, if you don't know what the backside of water is, there's a waterfall. You basically go in front of it at one point, and then you end up going behind it. And whenever you're going behind it, you're like, all right, drum roll everyone, presenting the backside of water, O2H, O2H, O2H. And that's just so funny. It's just like corny and hilarious. Oh, another one that I really liked was in the hippo scene. There's a bunch of hippos that you're coming up, and you come up and you're like, oh no, like we're coming up on a hippo pool, but I think I know how to scare them off the same way I scared off my ex-boyfriend. And then you go over to the side of the boat and you're like, I love you! Over the other side, I want commitment! Meet my parents! And then you're like, yep, works every time. Told you I'd save you guys. And there's different variations of it, but I loved that one, and it always got laughs. I have a video, I think, of me doing that little bit, so I'll put a video in now so that you guys can kind of get what I'm meaning.
I love you! I want commitment!
That was
Oh my
funny.
gosh, that's so weird. Where did that come from? I was trying to scare him off, and that did work in my last relationship.
I'm also going to scour YouTube and try and find a video where someone posted like my whole cruise. I'm pretty sure one exists, so I'm gonna try and find that. If you guys want me to post like my own video of my cruise, I can do that too, because I had some friends come and take a video of my cruise. I can turn that into its own YouTube video if you guys want. I can also post my safari. I have my whole safari recorded, so maybe I can do that as well. This video was probably literally all over the place. I literally shed tears for this video, and just like thinking about my time there made me a little bit emotional because I missed it and loved it so much. But this is the first installment of my little Disney career story series. What kind of like got me thinking about my Disney story and like career journey was that the Disney Park social media team posted a video of Josh Gad as like a safari driver. And they posted one before of him as a skipper. And in the beginning, he's like, first they made me a Jungle Cruise skipper. Then they made me a conductor on the Disneyland Railroad choo-choo train. Today, I'm taking over Kilimanjaro safaris. And it just made me chuckle whenever I saw it, because I was like, wait, I was a Jungle Cruise skipper. I wasn't a conductor on the railroad, but I did work at the Crystal Palace. And then I worked at Safari. So I ended up posting a video with pictures of like each thing. And I actually started a trend, because now there's like 300 videos of where people have done that too. And that was exciting to start that little trend. But it just got me thinking about my Disney roles, and it made me want to film this video. So here we are. But this was really fun to film, and I'm definitely going to film videos about the rest of the jobs that I've had at Disney as well. But I had to start with Jungle Cruise. If you guys have any more questions about my experience working at Jungle, please leave them in the comments below, and I will definitely go and answer them for you guys, or I can even film a part 2. Thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I sure hope you will subscribe, and I promise there will be some more Disney content coming, because I'm going to post all about my other roles, and then I'm going to post videos packing for my trip and while I'm on my trip, and there will be lots of vlogs, so definitely look forward to that. But I so appreciate you all, and thanks for watching this video. Bye guys!